Okay, so we're talking about the Solomon Islands. We're talking about the way the royalties are divided up for the timber, for the fish, and for the gold as far as the landowners go. I'm to understand, correct me if I'm wrong, that the landowner gets 1.5%, the government gets 1.5%, and the balance is 60%. Just explain the whole thing to me, please. It's about how or what amount the Solomon Island gets for his natural resources or the use of his land.
Yeah, I think first of all, Solomon Island is a third world country. Yeah, it's been categorized. It's under the third world country, like with ACP countries, Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific.
Right.
So Solomon Island is included in the Pacific,
Yes.
and it's under the third world country category. That means the first class category are the rich men's class, which is England, United States of America, and also the let's say the G8 or G20 group.
Right.
And the second class they call it the business class.
Right.
And these are the ones that take most of our resources and they manufacture it.
Right.
And they when it is manufactured, the first class, the rich man's class, they buy it from them.
Right.
That is like Singapore, China, Japan, or like the Asian countries, and even Australia, New Zealand. Yeah. And the third world country is been seen as a working class, the third class.
Right.
And
hence the oil palms.
yes,
that sort
like
of thought process.
we through the education system, there are a lot of dropouts in standard 6 and Form 3s, Form 5s,
Right.
and even Form 6 and Form 7. Most of them, they don't get a job now.
Yep.
Even the university graduate, when they come back home, they don't. Not everybody have a job. Most of them are taxi drivers, and they're trying to do their own livings.
Sure, I've seen that over there. Yeah.
Yes, and during the when there was an oil palm scheme which is been owned by the Commonwealth Development Company,
Right.
which is CDC, and they call it SIPL in Solomon Island Plantation Limited.
Right.
But this CDC company or Commonwealth company is owned by the British during the colonial times. And
Right.
now, and most of the land that is owned by the government now is been taken during the colonial time. The British, the Solomon Island was under the British protected.
This is the Magna Carta aspect you were describing to me earlier on, some aspect of that.
Yes,
flow on
during
from
somewhere around maybe in the 1500s.
that. Right.
Yeah, that was the time when the Magna Carta, under the law, or they made that that the rich will become rich, the poor will become poor.
Right.
And so we are facing the situation now because of that law. For example, every 6 feet land from top to 6 feet, it belongs to the landowners.
Right.
But below 6 feet belongs to the state or the government. So, for instance, from gold or minerals, all the minerals belongs to the government.
Right.
So now in Solomon Islands we have a gold-rich mining.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
And according to the Mining Act, the government receives 3%, which 1% belongs to they give it to the landowners, and 1.5% belongs to the landowners. 1.5% belongs to the government.
Sure.
So almost like 97% belongs to the investors. Yeah. And that's why the landowners they are not really happy. Even recently, what happened was during in the 1997. That's the time when Gold Ridge first started, and the people who own that area where the mining is,
Yes.
they were relocated.
Yes.
And when they relocated, they put them in another piece of land that belongs to a different tribe.
Sure.
And just recently, few weeks ago, there was a roadblock because the landowner, those who own the land where the people who have been relocated,
Yep.
they were not paid for 4 years.
Yeah.
So the landowners, they put a roadblock.
Sure.
Yeah. So the gold ridge management, they were not happy. They called the police.
Yep.
And they took the landowners just because they don't pay them
Yep.
for the reallocation.
Yep.
Yeah, which is almost about $4 million worth of dollars. So they are now almost they're taking the issue to the court.
The fact that there's so much money owed to the Solomon Islanders with this sort of antics from a lot of outside companies, can you explain to me too the breakup as far as the money's dispersed for the timber?
Yeah, according to the Ministry of Forest, there is an act that the timbers are owned by the state,
Right.
and the land owners, they own just the land.
Okay.
So whenever there is if you want to acquire you apply for the license for timber. There are a process that you have to go through to acquire the timber license.
Sure.
But then it will affect the landowners because the trees, they don't stand in the air. They are planted in the ground.
Yes.
So the landowners own the timber. That's the understanding.
Sure.
Yeah. But the law says that the timber is owned by the government, by the state. So you have to apply for a license. Even you own the land, but you as a company, or if a landowner registered the company, they have to apply to the government to acquire the license,
Right.
for timber license.
Yep.
And in that agreement, there is a 60-40 agreement. The investor or the company who will harvest the logs, they get 60%,
Right.
and 40% belongs to the government and the landowners.
Right.
And there is an export duty, which is a 25% of the export duty. That leaves 15% is for the royalty, and they call it royalty.
Yes.
But that's the percentage that the landowner gets, which is very small.
And that's as much as a landowner can expect to receive.
Yes.
Right.
And they thought that it is a big money, but in fact, 60% goes to the company,
Sure.
25% goes to the government,
Yep.
and only 15% goes to the landowners.
Right.
So we have been ripped off.
Totally. And as a tourist and having lived there as a child in the Solomon Islands and Bougainville especially, we all know about the Bougainville crisis. We all know that Australia supplied the helicopters and the fuel to shoot about a quarter of the population from the air, and we're talking about 20,000 lives here. I think it's high time that we took consideration of our Pacific neighbours and honoured them with the ability to self-sustain themselves with their own resources, products and lands. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.